Welcome, everyone. My name is Madison Brosseau. I lead product marketing at Evertune, and welcome to our June webinar on turning AI visibility data into a ChatGPT ad strategy. Today, we are joined by Kelsey Platt, who is our SVP of Business Development, and Mark Sherman, our Senior Product Manager, who works on building out all of our AI advertising product features. So today, we will be really focused on explaining what ChatGPT ads offering is, how it works, the limitations, and then we'll demo our new product feature, Visibility Boost, which connects brands' organic visibility data to their paid ChatGPT ad strategy. You'll note that one housekeeping area in the Zoom dropdown under More, there's a Q&A. So feel free to ask any questions that you have throughout the conversation. We can either answer in the chat or we'll take a moment to answer it live. So please keep that active. We would love to hear from you if there's any questions that you have. So with that, Kelsey, I'd love for you to kick it off.
Perfect. Excited to be here and chat with everyone about ChatGPT ads and just the evolution of AI search and what that means for all of us as marketers. I love to kind of just start with grounding ourselves in the fact that ChatGPT sees 900 million weekly active unique users coming to their platform to essentially discover, decide, and buy products, which is making the way in which all of us as consumers are experiencing the marketing funnel. It's really shaking that up. And the marketing funnel, as we know it, is really condensing because in a single conversation with an AI, you can go from brand discovery all the way through product purchase. So one of the key things that Evertune is doing, and one of the main kind of problem statements that our clients come to us with is, what do we do about that? How do we make sure that we're really integrating our brand into this new AI customer journey? And so we really think about that in two different ways. So obviously, all of this starts with what users are prompting in the models today, especially when they're looking for recommendations around, what is the best car or luxury SUV for a family of four, and I live in this specific area. Starting on the left-hand side of this slide, we have inside the AI conversation. And so obviously one of the key ways in which to make sure that your brand is being recommended is thinking about that organic mention in the text of the model's response. And so that was kind of the bread and butter of the Evertune platform and how we launched as kind of a generative engine optimization suite, helping brands understand how often they're being recommended within the actual responses that models are giving today to consumers at scale. So this kind of mass prompting engine. And then we help brands and agencies really understand the type of content that you need to produce to improve your brand perception and that AI visibility rate within the model's responses today. So that's kind of our earned approach within generative engine optimization. The next opportunity, now that ChatGPT has rolled out ads and they're kind of making their beta more publicly available, is making sure that when you're not in the answer, or maybe even when you are in the answer, that you're capitalizing on that paid ad opportunity at the bottom of the ChatGPT response. So that paid ad within the actual response that ChatGPT is giving consumers today. Two other AI ad offerings that we're not going to touch on a ton today, but happy to kind of, if anyone's more interested in these, we can kind of sidebar on that, are also outside of the AI conversation. How do you capitalize on this new customer journey? So one of our offerings is our AI search intent offering, which allows you to prioritize those paid ads in a programmatic sense on the citations that the models are sourcing. So as users are clicking through out of the AI conversation to kind of further their research across the rest of the internet, AI search intent helps you reach those high intent searchers where they're then going next. And then we also have paid ad targeting the user specifically, which is our AI retargeting offering. So helping you really understand as these consumers are kind of searching in a specific category within AI models, really following them no matter where they are, maybe serving them an ad on Hulu or Paramount Plus. And so that's our AI retargeting offering. The outside of the AI conversation offering is not limited to just ChatGPT, but I'm really excited for Mark to go deeper into Evertune's visibility boost and our ads manager today that we've built on top of OpenAI ads, and all of the benefits that kind of using your GEO insights and bringing that to your ChatGPT ad strategy can bring.
Cool. So, for those of you who are not familiar with ChatGPT ads, this is just a screenshot of some of the examples that we got from their UI. Right now, ChatGPT ads is still in a beta, but gradually opening up for more availability. But the data and insights are fairly limited, and the guidance in terms of campaign structure relies a lot on the brands to have the motivation to figure out what would work best for them. So one of the areas that are unique to ChatGPT ads is essentially something that they call context hints. And context hints are going to be a way for which you can formulate the context in which your brand would show up for a particular prompt in the models. We've done some research and testing on our end. First, we thought context hints would be a bit more keyword focused, but what we found out that the best context hints are going to be in the situation where you identify a persona and the intent that person would take action upon. And by having a bit more built out context in it, it's going to allow for the query mapping to allow for scale so you can reach more of a target audience for more relevant prompts. Uh, in addition to that, right now within ChatGPT ads, there's about three different buying structures. You can choose a CPC model, which will bid at a cost per click, or a CPM, or a reach campaign that would be billed at a CPM. And then you also have the ability to do a conversion-based model, which is relatively new, which would then be built at or billed at a CPA model. Right now, ChatGPT ads for geo-targeting are available in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, and the UK. They continue to add more regions each day, so this list will continue to grow. And then in just regards to their UI, it's pretty much a early day media management grid where you would have, your standard KPIs such as impressions, costs, clicks, click-through rate, etc. But not a ton of robust data visualization, so it does make reporting a bit of a struggle. And this is where I'm hoping that what I'm about to show you with an Evertune and Visibility Boost, we can start to alleviate some of these concerns while ChatGPT continues to build them out. So I can share my screen. Okay.
And while you pull that up, Mark, one of the questions that came through in the chat was around, for the US specifically, how granular is the geo-targeting that's available? My understanding is that they've also now rolled out all the way down to the zip code level targeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it changes quite often, but right now for the United States, you have the option to geo-target at the state level. I believe DMA, city, and zip code, but not all zip codes are available. So it can get granular, but there's still a bit of caveats to the consistency of which zip codes would be able to be targeted.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cool. So for our ad manager and visibility boost, this is essentially a view that you would get when you were to log into Evertune ads. You would go ahead and give a brand name, and then basically how we're connecting with OpenAI is through their API connection. So within OpenAI Ads Editor, there is an availability to be able to generate an API key. If you are to generate the API key, this is what we'll use to link Evertune to OpenAI, which would then create a bidirectional sync where you would have the ability to create campaigns within Evertune that will then be pushed to OpenAI for serving. Or adversely, if you wanted to create within OpenAI, you can then download those campaigns automatically into Evertune, where you would be able to take advantage of a bit more of our reporting capabilities, but also visibility boost. And I will get into what visibility boost is in a second. So if I were to just go ahead and put in the OpenAI key, we can go ahead and get started. So one of the main elements of Evertune is something that we call trackers. And trackers are essentially going to be a grouping of prompts that you would want to see how your brand or what a category has presence for. So what we see here for this Porsche example is that we have three trackers that are created. One would be for luxury SUVs, one would be for sports cars, and one would be for luxury sedans. So what do we want to be able to do with this information? Essentially, what we're able to do with these trackers is that our agent will go in and being able to take a look at all the information from all the different prompts and all the different responses that we get to see where there is high organic visibility for Porsche versus low organic visibility. And from there, we're able to create a paid media tactic that you can combat some of these different areas through ChatGPT ads. One of the things that we rely heavily on during our allocation of high, medium, and low is what we call AI brand score. And I'll let Kelsey go into a bit more detail of what that entails.
Yeah, happy to explain. So, AI brand score is a proprietary metric that Evertune has developed that is essentially a blended metric of AI visibility. So, how often is a brand coming through in the actual text response of the in the AI search example, and then also average position. So, where in the answer is a brand coming through? And so, an AI brand score of 100 would mean that a brand is coming through and being recommended 100% of the time and in first place position 100% of the time. So it really helps us get a sense of not only is a brand in the answer, but also where in the answer versus competitors is a brand being recommended.
Perfect. Thank you for diving into the brand score.
All right.
So what we have now are these three trackers. And now let's just say, for example, we want to go ahead and say, okay, these are the three areas that are important to us that we want to be able to see how we rank organically, and we can start to create ChatGPT ads to capitalize and optimize on the performance that we see. So I'm going to go ahead and hit build campaigns. And when I go ahead to do so, this is going to, again, the agent will go through, take a look at all the trackers, all the different topics, seeing where the brands rank, bucketing them into different themes. And from there, we're able to apply different strategies on how we want to be able to advertise on these particular items. One thing to also note as well is that in the previous screen, when I was entering in Porsche information, I put in their domain. This is going to be used to help us dynamically populate which URL should be driving to which ads based off of the relevancy of the content. So we're kind of going through and using a bit of a quality score methodology where we want to be able to tie the appropriate ad to the appropriate context hint to the appropriate landing page experience, just so it makes the user experience a bit more seamless and hopefully deliver the right messaging at the right time. Okay, so I will go ahead and hit build campaigns. So what you see now is the agent is running on the right-hand side. It's going to go through and start analyzing all the different topics that were part of those different trackers. And once it goes ahead to do so, it will then start formulating the actual campaign hierarchy structure. So we'll create the campaign ad groups. We'll also create the context hints for you. We'll generate the ad copy, and we'll also apply the URL with UTM parameters automatically appended. One thing to note before I go any further on this is that I understand that a lot of advertisers have a lot of, potentially ad copy limitations or restrictions in terms of the content that you can say and cannot say. We also understand that you know your brand best and you know the language that's going to resonate most with your audience. So although we are going through and being able to generate this copy based off of what we've seen in the prompt responses versus what's on your landing page, etc., we want to make sure that you have complete control over what it is that you end up launching with. So everything in this view is just essentially a blueprint of data points that we think will resonate really well in ChatGPT ads. But for whatever reason, if you need to make any modifications or edits to the landing URL, to the budgets, to the ad copy, to the context hints, you have complete jurisdiction to make any changes that you'd like. So by no means is this a set it and forget it. We want to give this to you as an opportunity, but also give you the chance to make any sort of tweaks or fine tuning as you see fit. So I'll walk you through this screen a bit because this is going to essentially walk through the complete methodology of why and how we're building what we're building for a ChatGPT ads experience. So now that the agent has ran and evaluated all the data from the prompts and the trackers, what we see here is a summary essentially given by the agent to say, here's where we see opportunity. So what it's saying is that Porsche's AI visibility varies sharply by topic, but the greatest opportunity where there's low organic visibility is around safety and driver's assistance. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Porsche is a luxury car brand that is known for speed, it's known for racing, it's known for prestige, etc. It's not necessarily going to be first to market for family-friendly safety type driving experience, but doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't. It's just not necessarily perhaps not what people resonate with the brand when they think about it. So if we take a look now, we see that there's the three different buckets that we're highlighting between the low, medium, and or high organic visibility. So if we want to start with the low, we see now here are the trackers that we selected in the previous screen, and now we're associating those trackers with different topics within those prompts. So we see now safety ratings, the brand score is about 2%, charging network 5%, driving range 8%. So what is this telling us? This is telling us that right now for these particular topics in these prompts, Porsche has low organic visibility. This isn't necessarily, a bad thing. You can certainly work on your GEO optimization and train and produce content to train the models to be able to start recommending your brand for these particular topics. We encourage you to do so. But in the meantime, it's a much less barrier to entry to serve an ad there instead to be a part of that consideration set when people are trying to search for your brand. So while you continue to work on organic optimization, serving an ad where you have low organic visibility currently is a very easy way to enter into that consideration set. And then if we want to go over to the high organic visibility, we now see within these trackers, it does very well for 0 to 60 acceleration, driving dynamics. These are the things that probably aren't going to be surprising to many people when they think of Porsche. So why would you want to serve an ad when you're already having high organic visibility? This kind of goes back to kind of search best practices and brand awareness to be able to say, okay, if I'm already showing up top in the prompt, then why not own the rest of that real estate and capitalize on that space and serve an ad there instead to mitigate any sort of competitors who might be wanting to bid on these prompts and detract someone who's already on the Porsche talk track. So now that we've bucketed them into three main categories, now we're going to go ahead and create campaigns that are going to address each of these different tactics. So right now, the agent gave a $50,000 a month budget. Again, this is an example. You can choose and put any sort of budget that you're comfortable running with. But what we want to be able to do is allocate 50% to boost, 30 to medium, and 20 to high. And the reason why we want to do this is because we feel that low organic visibility is going to make the biggest impact because you're currently not showing there now. So we want to make sure we're fully funding this and putting budget behind it to allow for the opportunity for your brand to surface and show for these particular prompts and themes. And then, not to say that medium and high isn't as important, but, you're already showing up there, so it's not going to be a total missed opportunity if you don't show an ad. But we do think that you should be putting some budget behind it, but not as much as the low organic visibility. Excuse me. So now that we have the three campaigns built out, now we can get into the actual ad groups, context hints, and ads. So we have the three campaigns that we've generated here. You'll see a number denoted next to each one. This represents the number of ad groups that we have for each campaign. So for low visibility, we generated about 10 ad groups. If we were to click into the Cayenne Family Luxury SUV ad group, we're dynamically populating the Cayenne URL for this particular ad group. The topics where this ad group ranked low is in the driver's assistance and family practicality. So this is why we've created an ad group specifically for this model. And then we've generated three context hints, which is pretty much a best practice that we found. Normally between 2 and 3 tends to give you enough coverage to show an ad. And again, the context hints that we're generating are going to be more about a persona with an intent. So I need a luxury SUV with room for my family and gear, or safety and tech is a priority for my family trips. Again, going to combat that low organic visibility for safety and family friendly. Again, you can X out of any of these, you can modify them, etc. And now we're going to go ahead and generate the ads for this particular ad group. So we have the headline that would be in the 50 character limit threshold, and then we created the description line within the 100 character limit threshold. You have the option to then go ahead and add an image. You can also edit these. If you don't like them, you can certainly delete them, or you can generate new ad copy as well. And once you go ahead and you have a chance to review all the different ad groups and campaigns and ads, you can then go ahead and create campaigns, which will automatically generate the structure into the grid format that I was showing you earlier. Everything would be created in pause status, so it gives you an opportunity to go ahead and review for a final round of QA. But also, if you need time and you're like, okay, this is really interesting, but I want to consult with my team, or I have to get some editorial approval to make sure that the ad copy is approved, we totally understand this, and we don't expect you to activate immediately if you're not comfortable to do so. But what we want to be able to do is give you the option to export all of this data into an Excel format. So if you were to hit this export button, what would happen is that we would generate a one file Excel bulk sheet that would include campaigns, ad groups, and ads. This bulk sheet is the same bulk sheet that is used by OpenAI, so that you can then take this file, make the modifications and edits to it directly. And then once you're in a place where you feel comfortable to launch, you could either upload that bulk sheet directly to Evertune, which would then be pushed to OpenAI, or you could upload it directly to OpenAI as well, and the campaigns would then be synced into Evertune. So we want to make sure that you have the flexibility to find a work stream that you feel most comfortable with. The last piece, before we can turn it over to questions, is that we have our ads agent on the side. You kind of saw it going to work before, where it was analyzing the topics, creating ad groups, ads, etc. This agent is here to be your consultant and guide throughout your ChatGPT ads journey to help create any of these campaigns. You could ask it questions in terms of the strategy. Maybe you want to not run a medium organic visibility campaign. You can tell it this will automatically remove it. Maybe you want to find and replace certain text that we've generated to fit more native brand language. You can talk to it as well, and it will go ahead and make any of those changes for you. Also, if you're just curious about organic overlap within paid media and where there's opportunity and trends over time, and kind of where is there opportunity to be able to make the most of your paid media strategy on OpenAI, you could also have this conversation. It's really great because it's going to be able to integrate the organic data to help motivate and empower the paid data. So you'll really get a full 360 view of your media landscape, and hopefully make your campaigns more strategic and hopefully more fruitful when you decide to activate them.
Maybe just a few things I'd add to Mark, and I would love your take on this as well. But I think one of the things, because Evertune is prompting all of the major LLMs, but ChatGPT in particular, at such scale on a monthly basis for all of our clients that are leveraging us from a generative engine optimization standpoint, we have a really great sense at this point of how the ChatGPT dialogue works, and how it's kind of framing up answers to consumers today. A lot of that then goes into how we're helping brands come up with the ad copy for this type of strategy, because ultimately you want it to feel very native and organic to the experience the consumer's in. All of us, I'm sure, saw Anthropic's ads during the Super Bowl of like, we're never going to do ads, and we're not going to violate your trust like that. It's really important for OpenAI that this doesn't violate the trust that they've built with their end consumers. And so in kind of the bidding structure that's going on behind the scenes, a lot of what OpenAI is also looking at is the quality of the ad copy, and does it feel very native to the experience. And so that's a lot of what we're also bringing to the table with respect to how we're kind of formulating the approach here as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in regards to that quality score methodology, where we're taking a look at making sure that the ad copy is relevant to the content of the landing page, that's relevant to the context, since so that when the user does get served an ad, it's going to be an extremely relevant and targeted ad versus something that seems seemingly random.
Exactly, exactly. And something else we're kind of building in to inform our context hints as well is today, Evertune licenses panel data from a number of different data providers that allows us to see the real conversations that consumers are having with these models. One of the things that gives us a sense of is the search volume behind these topics and queries as well. And so that's something that we're going to be building into those context hints, because one of the major concerns that many brands have today is how much can we realistically scale, and how do we maximize scale with our ad strategy? So we've learned a ton around best practices on setting up context hints, and that's another kind of layer of data that we'll be able to bring to the table to help inform kind of our clients' campaigns as well today. There was a great question that came in around pharma and healthcare. I know financial services is another big one where today there's a lot of restrictions around kind of those two verticals in particular. We're working in very close partnership with OpenAI as it pertains to kind of building out this approach. But Mark, do you have any other insights in terms of how they're thinking about this and how they might be opening up down the road?
Yeah, I think you know, anything subject to change, we see OpenAI adding new features and adding new different verticals and functionality daily. So I'm assuming that this will probably come to fruition to give people the ability to serve ads for these particular verticals. However, what I would say in the interim is that if you're not eligible to serve an ad based off of, the vertical that you're operating in, this is a great time to be able to take a look at your organic data to start thinking about how, when you can serve ads, where you want to be able to be so you can hit the ground running when that opportunity opens up.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And so I would also say a great opportunity to think about AI search intent and AI retargeting as two other kind of tactics here. AI search intent, I think, is incredibly powerful for those verticals in pharma, healthcare, and financial services, where because it's inherently a contextual targeting tactic that is targeting the citations that the models are kind of learning from and where consumers are most likely to land on following their AI search. It removes a lot of the sensitivities around following a user and instead is just, high intent contextual targeting ultimately. So hopefully that we kind of tackled some of those questions live versus in the chat. But these have been great so far.
Probably have time for one more question if anyone has any. Otherwise, yes, this webinar will be recorded and will be sent out and shared with you all so that you have it. We'll also share the deck if you're interested. And it looks like no other questions have come through. So thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We are doing these webinars on a monthly basis, so please come back and check us out. And hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Perfect. Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care.